Hello, welcome to my podcast, To Make Fun Joey Suit. I am Joey Suit, and I will be giving a mic to Megan Freeman. She is currently diagnosed with Q2Q37 deletion syndrome, and that means it's a short stature, weak muscle tone, mild to severe intellectual disability, delayed development of motor skills like walking and sitting, and some have autism. There's like a whole list of it, but I'm assuming you can help me fill the gap. But how are you
Cool.
today? I'm so happy to have you.
Oh yeah, likewise, Joey. I'm so happy to be on here too. I am good. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
definitely.
you're a very
Oh,
hard person to get.
I'm a what?
You're a very hard person to get.
Oh my gosh, I am so clearly my mind was not my body and mind perhaps were cooperating. I mean, I actually usually avoid YouTube like the plague. So this is like a one-way exception I can make for that. But I do think that it's just kind of but it's just kind of been it's kind of just been something where for whatever reason I had a stomach bug. So for this,
No.
yeah, and then I like had some headaches. I like had this. I have no idea what it was, but I had like some stomach bug where for like 48 hours I was like feeling really really bad. So then
Oh my
there's
God.
yeah, yes, it's one of those situations, and it seems like this one thing after another kind of unfolded. So I'm more than happy then to be here now. That what's more.
What is this a regular like code blue something? Just
What about Code Blue?
what is it like a regular flu or a cold? Just
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I don't know. I'm usually pretty healthy. I mean, I'm actually the one like in my family, I think it's safe to say, who like people may be getting sick and I usually don't get it. One time someone like my whole kind of neighborhood was having like a stomach bug and somehow I managed to not get that one. So I had a pretty good immune
really.
system. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So let's talk about your disease. So like what did I list everything correctly? Because there was a huge variations of things.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So to answer your question, Joey, I yeah, you said it all. I think I'll also note that there's actually three different types of my chromosome deletion. There's 2q37.1, 2q37.2, and 2q37.3. And I've since learned that 2q37.1 is often the more severe from what I could gather on this Facebook support group. And I've seen things like I've also seen from this rare disease organization that like has information about my rare disease. They're saying that one out of seven one out of seven people with my disease, say disorder's disease, with my disease, they have to have open heart surgery.
Huh.
Yeah, so it is kind of insane. Just think about all the complications. Like I imagine, like after birth, they often have to have it. I mean, lots of people actually, from what I could gather in this Facebook group that I'm in, they often, for whatever reason, they've been able to diagnose it when people are very young infants or young toddlers, or even, I guess, some even like almost babies, some babies. But yeah, it's just kind of an interesting one.
So how do you get diagnosed with a genetic test?
Yeah, so went to I went to a geneticist. I was ordered by my doctor at the time because I actually didn't have puberty start until I was 16. And
Whoa.
yeah, yeah. So I was kind of thinking, okay, what's going on here? We had to get down to the bottom of it. And I actually was having some diagnostic testing over the years just for me having a learning disability. So who the heck knows if those two are connected? I mean, I'd like to think it's a ginormous mystery that, life can be. Things can happen, but
Yeah, you sound normal. Like I don't think you have any development disability
mm,
or you're
what
hiding it really well.
oh, oh no, so yeah, so I want to also get it out that I think that like I think there's also a misconception that maybe people might think that if you have a rare disease, the word disease kind of, people may think about stereotypical rare diseases like Down syndrome, but there's other rare diseases like the one that I have, where in a sense is kind of invisible, where if you hadn't known that I told you, then you never would have necessarily known.
I mean, I definitely never knew about this disease, so you're the first person I ever met that had this disease. Like I was,
Wow.
you just did a podcast with Annie. She definitely, whoever is listening, she definitely listened to her podcast called R is for Rare podcast. I also interviewed her. She's super awesome. So it's, you mentioned that there's only 150 of you, 150 of the people that have your disease in the world.
Yeah, yes, that's also the crazy thing too. I mean, speaking of not knowing, I mean, multiple people growing up are like saying to me when I've talked about it, just trying to raise awareness. And I'm kind of gotten, I think, to that point where I want to spread awareness. Just come to deal with all the little struggles that come along the way. I think that people have said to me, "Well, okay, so your disease is what?" That doesn't sound nice. Like some people have said that, and I think that just I think it just with dealing with what I have, it is kind of tough. It has been a struggle, and that aside from seeing people in a catalog that have it that I've looked at before once I got diagnosed with this, I see people in the catalog, I see people in the Facebook group, but I don't know really anyone else that has it other than I know recently, I think my boyfriend said that his mom, who's really involved in the rare disease community, since she actually has an organization geared towards people with some rare disease called congenital hyperinsulinism. It's just kind of been, it's just kind of been something where she apparently knows a mom of a daughter who has it, but the daughter's so young. So the
Really?
daughter, yeah, yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, when I heard that, when Ben had texted me that, when Ben's my boyfriend, when Ben had texted me that, I just kind of ended up, I just ended up at least feeling like there's more that sense of kind of, I guess, kind of comfort in the sense, knowing that I'm not alone, because I feel like although there's 150 of us, I feel like I've just kind of been kind of, I guess you could say, fighting the battle alone. Where it's not like there's any rare disease that any known rare disease such as Down syndrome or diabetes, where there's maybe more awareness on that type of a thing.
I mean, 150 people is such a low number, and that's insane to think about.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, just to know that, she's not around our age. So unfortunately I can't talk to her, like that like-minded sense. But I do think that the fact that the mom know, knows kind of about it, I think it
Mhm.
definitely does make me hip kind of in an odd enough way feel that sense of comfort, I guess, kind of like, hey, I'm not the only one. There's one of us two out there.
Yeah, that's so rare. It's also really funny that you did happen to know someone that knows someone that has it out of all diseases in the world.
Right. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty special.
So like when you're diagnosed with the disease, is there like anything you can really do about it, or is it more of a here's like a roadmap and this is kind of how you'll follow?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so once I got diagnosed, I had what you may have been able to hear on the podcast with Annie yesterday. I had what's called a benign tumor, which when I heard the word tumor, I just was thinking, am I gonna die? So, luckily it's benign, so I don't have to worry about that. But it's an overgrowth of the pituitary gland, which is on like the back of the head for people that may not necessarily know. So
Hmm.
because of that, I've definitely had to have a bunch of MRIs ordered. Like I had to have an MRI every 6 months for the longest time, for maybe a year or so. But then I now gotten to the point where every 2 years or so, I've been able to just have a follow-up appointment just to make sure that everything is good in that area. And I am fortunate in that I guess, I've had to take I've had to take meds over the years for this to help the tumor shrink. And I have now had my tumor shrunken down to a level that's deemed more good. So I just kind of am just continuing to take the meds to monitor for that.
So is this something that because of your disease, or is this something totally different?
I think probably with the other types of rare diseases, the other forms of what I have, they might have to do something similar. I mean, I can't speak for them because I obviously don't know their experiences. So, rare diseases, I think it's pretty unique.
So when you met another person that had the disease, was it like an epiphany, or like a great moment, or you were just like, hey, and then
Yeah, good question. Yeah, it did seriously help me because I was just feeling really, really down, just going through a hard period there for a bit. Since I guess having a good disease, it can really hit, I think, all those emotions at different times.
Mhm.
So I think see that did kind of give me that sense of that did kind of give me that sense of just kind of that did kind of give me that sense of just happiness that, well, okay, so I just felt, as I said before, I just felt kind of like, okay, I although I obviously wish that I could meet someone with my rare disease around my age who has it, that would be good. But at the same time, it really just it was just comforting to hear. I'm glad that Ben had mentioned that, had texted that, because that just really made me feel in a better spot, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I hope this video will help, get someone new, and maybe can connect with you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. This is partly why I think I just feel like I feel like there's a calling. I feel called to want to just spread my message out there because I think that for all I know, there's someone out there who has my rare disease, but they don't know about it because there's not, as we talked about, not many people, so not much awareness out there. But I think that also, if they do have it, I think just want to get the awareness out there to know that you are not alone.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely. I had the same feeling like when I was growing up. Like my disease, I only have around 800 people in the world,
Wow.
and yeah, I mean, yours is even tinier, but like there's actually a community out there that we kind of almost know everyone that has our disease. Like if
Mm,
you mention, like if you knew my disease and you like mention any name, I would be like 70% sure I know that person, or like I've seen their face. Like that's
well,
how. Yes, that's how close we are. I mean, we're not close, but like we're like familiar with each other. And but the thing is that like when I was growing up, my parents never exposed me to that. So I actually grew up. I mean, when I was like in my teenage year, I kind of knew like a person or two, but this was like before Facebook or anything like that. So like there
mm,
was no connection as as great as it is now. So like I never really like never talked to anyone that had my disease of any kind. And like one of the I never really talked about it with my family, but I think one of the reasons was my disease is so destructive to the human body that they didn't want to see me how my future will be.
oh
Because
God.
yeah, so we all follow like the same path in terms of like, like 1 year you'll be walking and next year you won't be able to walk anymore. And like they didn't
Mm,
want me to see that because I never really like, especially when you're young, you don't understand the disease and like the seriousness of it. Like if I someone told you at 15, like there's a chance you might not be able to walk anymore, and you're like, yeah, right. Like so, like that was like my growing up. So and
oh,
then yeah, but like what's weird is that when I met like people with my disease, it didn't like do anything for me. Like I didn't feel this like pleasure like you have. Like, oh, I met someone with my disease and I can talk about this stuff. Like to me, it was just more of like, it was like I just met another person. Like I didn't really care
mm,
too much about the disease. I was just like, I just like want to get to know people, and if we get along, great. If we didn't, and so So I wanted to ask you, since your disease is so rare, did you look at different groups to find that support?
Yeah, no, good question. I've definitely been looking at it. There is one group that's based in Boca Raton, but unfortunately, they seem to be geared more towards parents of young kids because, like I said, it often, for whatever reason, seems to get diagnosed in young children. So I do sort of feel like there's that group, which is okay, but then there's also Unique, which is the group that I first found out about my rare disease, and I actually was able to print out some printouts of my disease from that rare disease organization just to bring with me and my parents to doctor's appointments. So that, that in that sense, I guess was helpful, but I do sort of feel like it just kind of hard in that that the Unique group, it's based in the UK, and especially during COVID, they didn't seem to be having any virtual meetups. They just seem to be more focusing on like patient stories of people with young kids.
That's a shame though.
Yeah, it really is. I really feel like there's a niche. Like if I do something, I really do feel like it would be good to just, I've thought about partnering up with them. Might have like, I think I might have reached out to them or thought about reaching out to someone from Unique, which I just sort of feel like I wanna be able to have that for all I know, there's other people out there like me who have that rare disease, who are kids who kind of feel kind of like, well, wait a minute, what about the young adult aspect? Kind of like our Odyssey,
Oh yeah, like after like, especially in America, like after the age of 18, like no one cares about you anymore. Like there's no like programs that much anymore that's good for young adults or anybody above 18, but like below 18, like special classes and all these programs. And after 18, you just have to do it on your own.
I do sort of feel like, there's definitely could be some more emphasis on that. And I think that's the thing too about rare diseases. Like, there's all sorts of different types. And I've actually since gotten introduced to another organization out there called similar to our Odyssey called Rare New England through one of my friends who I've also met. I don't know. I'm sure I've heard of him, Owen, through our Odyssey.
Oh yeah, yeah, I know him.
Owen introduced me to Rare New England. So it's really kind of been great in that there's people with diseases, different age groups, which, that's really kind of great in that sense. But yeah, my ultimate goal at some point is to be able to see if I can partner up with another rare disease organization geared towards my specific one. And I don't know. I mean, I've also been thinking, I've thought, obviously it's just, big ideas right now, but that's kind of how my mind can sometimes go at times. I thought, well, maybe at some point, if I get people who have my rare disease too and get enough kind of interest, support, awareness out there, I'm hoping to, like I've thought, maybe I could start some rare disease organization.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I felt more of a community. So both of us, for the audience that's listening, so there is, if you have okay, there's a group called Our Odyssey, and what they do is gather a bunch of rare diseases, and once a month they'll have a monthly meetup. Sometimes there'll be a topic, sometimes it'll just be just a gathering of people, and then like I would say most of the time someone has something to talk about because it's always a little awkward when there's no topic to talk about. Where they're like literally just sitting in a room just looking at each other, and it's so awkward. But yeah, it's a great, like for me, it's a great like, so I mentioned before, like I met the people with my disease and I didn't get along too well with them in terms of personality, and that's fair. Like I understand, like we don't, it's not like I hate them or anything, but we just didn't get along well personality wise. And I was like, okay, this is like a bummer in a way. Because like we kind of all have the same goals and like, hey, we want to find a cure and let's support each other. And some do, some don't, but that's fine. But like coming into this Our Odyssey group, with a bunch of other rare diseases, for one, it's really nice that everyone's open and like had the same like not the same hardships, but like similar stories in a way, like getting misdiagnosed or dealing with childhood traumas or not feeling like you're respected and stuff. So everyone kind of on the same plane. So like you don't have to explain, like what you do to a regular person. Like like they know from experience. So it's cool. Like I met a lot more people like-minded to me. And it's like I I grew up hating the disability world because every person I met during the time, they were just off mentally. And for me, my disease is physical. And so it kind of looks like I'm retarded. And that's like unfortunate. So like I would get thrown with the if they were retarded or mentally not there and whatever. And it's like I get it, but at the same time it was like I was so young and like not valued, so they did like threw me around, not throw me around like physically, but like I knew I would not supposed to be here. Like I would, have like a good conversation and like talk about anything, not just be like I felt like I felt being behind. So like now that I'm meeting all these, so I like came out like a year ago. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try this rare disease disability world again. So I found our Odyssey, I joined a group and it was really great. Like there was a bunch of rare disease people and first it was a little weird, but after a while they were just like everyone was just a person, everyone had their personalities and I met a lot of cool people and it kind of just turned my whole opinion around of just like, hey, I mean, it's kind of the same with regular people too. There could be people that suck, people that are boring and that's fine. And I just did it from my experience. So it's understandable, but I, I'm glad I expanded my horizons and gave another shot. And now there's all these awesome people. And yeah, some of them have severe disability, but like they're mentally there and we can have a great conversation. And so like to me, a learning process and more of a, hey, this is where I belong and like I'm respected and all these like good things now and I have to like hide and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, so when you say about like how you feel different from disabilities, everything too, I think also similar to what I was saying about rare diseases, I feel like there's also a misconception out there about people with so like I said, there's a misconception out there with people with rare diseases, but also people with disabilities, how there's people that have invisible disabilities, I think, that aren't always the typical visible disabilities. And I do believe there is something out there called neurodiversity, where there's a topic where, what makes us unique, what makes us go. I mean, what's quote unquote normal.
I mean, I think it's really like kind of where you grow up to be. So like if you're like isolated in a way and you're like not exposed to like disability people or people in wheelchairs for let's say your entire childhood and you start traveling and stuff. And then like when you see a person with disability, I can understand why you have a negative opinion towards them. Like
Yeah.
and so it's kind of like it's hard to break that mindset. It's like
Yeah.
and like you have to like, like well, I think the other it's to flip the coin, it's also hard for like people like me. What sucks about me though, that I have a very physical, horrible disability and I'm very sarcastic. And so like if I say something sarcastic, like people assume that I'm like dumb or whatever, which I like totally understand. But like I can be really sarcastic and then they think I'm even dumber than they thought. And then it's like, no, like this is not how it's supposed to work. And then now I dug myself a deep hole and have to get out. And now I have to talk like super smart for like the rest of my life. So they don't think I'm like dumb.
I think you gotta be you. And I think that people judge you, that's their problem. That's on them, not you. That's my view.
Yeah, I know, but sometimes like when they see you as dumb, they kind of like talk to you dumb, and then it's just like it's like the weird, like a weird barrier in a way. Like they don't just automatically go from hey dumb to really smart, kind of like a slow. Like you have to like establish yourself as like smart, and then they talk to you like a regular
Mm,
person.
yeah,
So,
well, I also think it's society, as you said, it's where you grow up. I think part of it's also, unfortunately, societal that I feel like is still kind of not always, like I said, there's people that view people with disabilities as only like the physical, but they kind of completely almost overlook the people who have invisible disabilities, like I have learning disabilities, for instance.
yeah, I mean, what's weird about the whole disability world? There's such a huge spectrum. Like
Mm,
to judge someone from disability is pretty like I wouldn't say shallow, but it's so widely like there are people that like can't move a limb at all, and they're like
mm.
they could have like 150 IQ,
Yeah, they
but
could
like
be the,
it
oh yeah.
yeah like they don't know how to talk or they can't physically talk or something, or like there are people that are just like great looking but are like really dumb. It's like
Mm.
okay, like this like there's so many people with so many different handicaps or disabilities or even nothing at all, and it's like the human person is like amazing and perplexing, and it's like we're always having to fight for something.
For sure, yeah, yeah. You heard someone say recently that some of us have to fight harder than others, which I think that's true. They can
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, like what I'm doing now, I'm creating the podcast and talking to people. I hope to break that.
I was gonna say stigma. Oh, wait,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, to break the stigma of it and like how there's so many different people and everyone has totally different experiences and everyone deals with their shit differently and like not there's not like a one plan for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's so like for me, it's like the human is so captivating. Like there's like how much we're willing to put ourselves through to like survive in a way. And
Mm, yeah.
so it's like, and it's like how many, and it's like I knew they did like a lot of rare diseases, and then when I joined the our Odyssey group, I was just like, holy shit, there's so many rare diseases out there.
Yeah, yeah. So I actually, that's an interesting point that you bring up because I actually was doing Rare Disease Week. I was at Rare Disease Week, quote unquote, because it's all virtual, but through Every Life, they had this Rare Disease Week, and it was really unbelievable just being able to talk to my local state reps for this, like my, like I talked to my state reps for my state senators and my state rep for my state kind of for my for my state legislature. So it's kind of sorry, not legislative, representative, my state representative. So it just kind of been, it's just really kind of been amazing. We're we were talking, like we meaning a group of people, about all these different policy issues that relate to rare disease. And in the process, I met so many amazing people with rare diseases that I've honestly never heard of because there really are like 70,000 rare diseases out there. So we definitely can't know them all.
Yeah, I mean it's hard too because everyone, even though it's a rare disease, everyone kind of has their own set of problems, and it's kind of hard because like what like let's say they pass a bill to something, it will only help a small group of people. And but like sometimes they need it, like some of them need like feedings, and like
Yeah.
insurance doesn't cover that. It's like it's really like if you're not in the rare disease world and like don't even like talk, like if you don't even like know about anything, a lot of these people are fighting for years to get like
Mm,
basic rights just to survive.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like there are some that are like hustling to get something passed and talk to the representative. So like how was talking to representative for you?
Oh, yeah. So To answer your question, that honestly was incredible. I mean, I've had such amazing experiences. Like I was talking about the newborn screening bill, which for those that don't know, newborn screening bill is something that has been in the House and has been in the Senate, but it's a bill that's had to get reauthorized this year since every so often bills have to get reauthorized. And with the newborn screening, it really can help detect rare diseases shortly, like right when they're born, they can be able to help detect. I want to say it's like up to 3 months, don't quote me, but it's up to a certain like short amount of time where before they're one, doctors can be able to do basically like this foot prick. It's kind of like a heel prick where they can be able to draw blood samples and be able to just see, well, okay, so for instance, why is my baby not developing the way that it should? Now you can be able to maybe get to more answers for hopefully more cues and more kind of peace of mind awareness. So with that, I've actually been talking, I actually was talking about that in one of my senator meetings where one of my group leaders had asked me to elaborate on it since I had the floor, as they say. And I talked about it, and the rep for the senator just said, wow, that's great information. That's good to know. And then another representative for another state senator I talked with, I was talking with her and I was enjoying her time, but I think the thing about these Hill meetings is that since they're so busy on the go, you literally may not have as much time as you may think to be able to elaborate your pitch. So because of that, I found that email has been really helpful for that. Just to be able to email her, I emailed her office and just elaborated off of what I had said. And that's where I'd actually told her that I'm just one of 150 people worldwide who have this rare disease. And she'd actually emailed me back and said, wow, you're an inspiration. So that just, that was just incredible. I mean, things like that, just, I think situations like that, things like that can really just, I think at least for me, it just kind of reaffirms why I do what I do. And it just kind of gives me that sense of energy that much more to just want to be able to just keep spreading the word with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's awesome. For anyone that's listening, the reason that the bill is huge, well, for one, Megan mentioned that a bill doesn't get passed very often, so anything to get passed is like a huge accomplishment.
Mm,
Because like so many people are involved in such. But the other reason is so big because there are a lot of diseases that if you're diagnosed early, it can help you so much. And well, for one, it's all the information is available to you, and a lot of diseases can be helped, or a lot of the symptoms can be limited or even removed if found out early. And a thing
mm,
about rare disease community is that a lot of us are misdiagnosed, and that's a huge problem.
yeah.
And it can cause a lot of harm to the person, including me. And so, like, if you're able to find exactly what disease you are, you can get the right resources to help the child develop into a, you know, if they can
Yeah.
be an independent person, or to, it can help the parents too, so they don't have to stress about it. And they kind of, what's great about the rare disease community, I found that a lot of us are pretty helpful in terms of like support.
Yeah.
So like if you're a parent that had a child that's diagnosed with X disease, and then I'm assuming that let's say there's a community. I mean, I can't say it for everyone, but like in my disease, like we get like new parents all the time, and like and then like a parent will like, hey, we have the child, he's 2, and then like, hey, we need like help with something, and we have like the older people that have my disease help and like show their support, and then you also have new parents, like other parents coming to reach out and like, hey, how did you deal with school and all that. So it's a great it's a great time now to have a rare disease to like, for one, that you don't feel so alone anymore. And
For
then
sure.
two, yeah, and you have like others to share the struggle. And then two, it's like, there are people that would before you that struggled, they did everything alone. Like my parents did almost everything alone, and that must have been really hard on them. And so many other families, but now, there are resources and parents they can talk to on the phone, and it's just like amazing. It's definitely an amazing time to have a rare disease.
Yeah, yeah. If anything, as much as the pandemic's obviously been rough and obviously an awful time, I do think that out of it, I think there's been kind of, I know someone else that's done a podcast has pointed this out, that I feel like there's even more of a kind of time where people just want to do podcasts because I mean, with the world in such uncertainty, we might as well just do something.
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, like we were talking about before the podcast, and she asked me like, why did I start the podcast? Like, so like one of the reasons I said, yeah, like you mentioned, there's so many podcasts out there, and like some of them are funny or like they talk about sex or like topics and stuff. And I didn't really find that many on rare diseases. So it's like, hey, I love to produce and I have like the skill set to like edit and talk and listen and all that. And I was like, hey, there's a niche here that's like not being filled at all. And
Yeah.
then and then like I mean, it kind of you just have to go for it because like let's say your disease, only 150 of you guys are around. It's like, why would someone want to listen to you? And I was like, well, for one, she's not just a disease, she's a person, and she has
Yeah.
her own, like she grew up in her own ways and has her own interests and stuff, and that's awesome. And then it's like I'm educating a new person that didn't know what you have, and you mentioned that your friend's mom's daughter had a disease, and like maybe that'll happen in the world. Like someone be like, "Hey, I know this person that has a disease. Let me tell this person about Megan," and then maybe they'll link up together, and that'll be like a huge accomplishment. Yeah, like
Yeah.
especially rare diseases. Like the social media world is very fast, and like if your content isn't good or anything like that, it'll just get buried. So it's like I want to give a platform to people of rare diseases to like I think a big thing is having a community. It could be your rare disease or it could just be rare diseases in general or just having unique stories. And now like there's a platform to talk about and you're not the disease, but you also like expand on yourself too. It's not like, hey, to have this disease and here are all my symptoms. Like that's it. But like
Right.
we
No.
yeah, go.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think that it's definitely not. I think also the thing that unfortunately is kind of a misconception that out there that if you don't have a rare disease, I know, I think the world needs to have more empathy for people with rare diseases because you may not have a rare disease, but I think you got to have that. Well, I think if you do have a rare disease, I feel like there's that extra added level of understanding that may not necessarily that when I think come like in my experience from people that don't have a rare disease. So I, I think that with rare diseases, it's not something that just gets treated and then you're just done with.
No, it's a lifetime from birth to death, basically.
Yeah, yeah,
Terrible as that sounds, but I
yeah,
mean, in the end, we're all human and we're just trying to survive the
yeah,
best that we can.
yeah, yeah. I believe God put us on this life for a reason, and it's kind of maybe a mystery necessarily, but that's kind of how I feel. How rare disease is, I think, just having it, like we so many different emotions. I mean, I don't know about you, but I definitely went on a journey just with all the different emotions over the years of kind of it's almost like I feel like I've kind of been coming to different terms in my journey and kind of feeling, I guess, different emotions have come up with it.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a rare disease, I think you kind of have a special case of emotions and such, and it's like it's hard to explain to a regular person, so we have to stick
Mm.
together to like help support each other
Yeah,
because it's all about the community, and that's super important.
yeah, yeah. Like I think I had my rare disease, and then I kind of got diagnosed, and then it wasn't like it's almost maybe like I had to accept it for a while, and then I kind of found, and then I ended up finding found Van, like we were at, like, the same college, so we became friends and then went from there. But I think that it's definitely kind of just it was an eye-opening thing for me because I just was then talking with his mom on one of our dates, and his mom had asked me about my rare disease. So, can you tell me more about your rare disease? So, I think that through that, I kind of found, hey, there's this group of people, like these group of people that aren't just in magazines, but legit people, and that was incredible to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, kind of weird when you see someone like in a magazine or or
Mm,
like just like a profile post, and it's like you know they're there, but doesn't have a human aspect to them. If that makes sense, you
yeah.
know it because like you can't like talk to them in a way, and like you see them and they tell their story, but like it like ends as soon as you read the last word. Like you can't like you want that communication with each other. And what's great about the whole social media world now that we're bombarded with so much information, and I feel like our generation now is so much more knowledgeable and more resilient than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like really cool to hear like my disease. There's only 800 people in the world, but like I, I don't know like the percentage, but I think the percentage is more of people have heard of my disease. Maybe not the name, but I heard of like what it does. And that's like really cool to like hear. And then I don't know, it yeah, I have a rare disease, but at the same time, it almost doesn't feel rare since more people know about it.
Mm, interesting. Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the thing too. Like I've seen it, like been in different webinars with people where they're just trying to advance kind of like the awareness with rare diseases, never mind like kind of research. Because I know that there's like tons of like rare diseases out there that don't even have a like FDA like approval for it. So I think just also trying to just get awareness out there, I think is huge. I mean, never mind just trying to just think about what just I actually said in that podcast yesterday, if there's anyone out there who are politicians, I do think it's good to just kind of think about just the idea of drug prices. I mean, I think just overall it's just so can be so pricey. And I think that, I have kind of wondered about that with my rare disease. Like, I'm covered in everything right now, but you know, to what extent, like, how would it fluctuate? How would it vary? Like, from just thinking about the different healthcare plans out there.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about you more. Like, what is your biggest challenge with your disease?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question, Joey. I think um the um the biggest challenge with my rare disease, I guess I feel it's just been feeling, there's, as I said before, there's sorry, I got a bunch of different kind of emotions have come up. I mean, I felt like just especially being a teenager when I was 16, when I saw everyone else kind of okay, they already did their thing. It's kind of like, what's going on? And then I think once I got diagnosed, it just hurt, and that I felt extremely lonely when I felt like I was alone. I guess as we could all maybe feel the rare disease in that fight, but I guess in particular, I felt that kind of sense of kind of isolation when I was a junior in college, kind of thinking, well, okay, so, who else? I guess who else gets me, who else knows about that. So that's been a challenge. And then also I think just kind of there's been people who have also I think not always understood my rare disease. So I feel kind of misunderstood at times. And I feel I feel that just society I feel that just society and I feel like society in general just may think about like rare diseases as kind of like there's kind of that stigma when it comes to the word disease, you know? So I guess this has been some of my amongst my things have been some of my biggest, I guess, struggles.
Yeah, so it just seems like you just wanted more support and to feel less lonely.
Yeah, yeah. I don't, in hindsight, I had some good doctors, and I don't fault them. I don't necessarily fault anyone for not getting it, but I do sort of feel like I just sort of feel like it would have been nice to it would have been nice to have that support early on, and just like knowing, there's other like-minded people out there. I mean, if I'd known that, then for all I know, maybe I would have done advocacy way sooner. But I do think that in a sense, I'm glad that I've met the people that I have, because now, like, I met Ben, and then I met his mom, and then so through all that, through, I guess in a sense, Ben's mom, they both introduced me to Odyssey and introduced me to all of these other groups. And now I guess I don't feel quite alone, now that if
Mm-hmm.
I have emotions coming up. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that there could have been more support, but I think that's why, like I said, that's partly why I do what I do, between just drawing on some blank greeting cards, just drawing some onions, just to raise an awareness about that, and doing things like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's better this way because it's a more free flowing conversation. And like no one wants like no one wants to stay in like a classroom and learn about the disease like forcefully, but like like
Mm,
someone like, hey, why is this disease? And like they'll talk to you and they see you're just talking and like there's a human aspect to it. And I think that will help more people understand it and more like absorb it versus
mm.
just reading an article.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like it's almost kind of like I feel almost similar to having a learning disability, growing up with that, how there's just not necessarily much support and not much understanding. I mean, if you don't like it, that is in certain situations. I mean, I've had great support with learning disabilities over the years, with my learning disability over the years, but it just, I think that's just kind of been something where I feel like people just people just need to have empathy, not get scared of the word disease. I mean, I have a rare disease. I do. It's not the typical word disease, like life threatening, which I feel I think it's really kind of an issue that comes down to just maybe just society in general, where they may be trained in their brains to think about rare disease, meaning like, oh, that's something you're going to die from like in a few days or something.
Oh no, stay away from me.
Yeah, right. No, luckily I don't think about that one.
I mean, it's just slow. It's just a very, very slow um stigma removing process that we have to do, and like everyone had to like fight hard to be respected and remove the stigma. And like this podcast helps a lot, but like everyone is fighting to like we're like fighting a whole system and can get exhausting. So I wanted to know like
Mm.
when did you start advocating for yourself?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think to be honest, it was 2 years ago when I really started to get like in that mode where I think for the longest time I think I did want to do something, but it's hard, and that I just felt like, I think there's been different like waves of emotions of the process over the years. So this is now coming more to terms, but now I guess it came down to meeting some people. Like it came down to ever since when Ben and I had started dating, his mom had then asked that question. So I was talking about that with her, and then I was going and doing different just conferences that her organization had, just, although it obviously wasn't my rare disease, it was nice just being able to learn about that, connect with other people, and gone to like these annual soirees that her organization has. So I think just between that and then, then going to do these virtual Nord conferences and then these virtual global genes conferences, these summits, and then going and doing this rare disease week through every life, I think it really, that's really, I think what really kind of sparked my interest, I guess you could say, and really kind of got me going. I felt like it was just,
Mhm.
I felt like it was really kind of an epiphany, and I kind of felt like it's really kind of one thing leading to the next, where I kind of realized, yeah, I mean, we just feeling so alone over the years. I was realizing, hey, I'm not alone. I mean, how often do you meet people who have rare diseases? Not often, I think. So,
But now it's like you meet all these rare diseases and it's like, where have you been, guys? Like,
yeah, exactly. And I really feel that God is calling me amongst many things to just be able to just spread this message, spread the word out there. I'm hoping to just be able to get it out, get my message, get my story out to as many people as they can. So maybe they can hopefully hear it and, maybe learn something. I mean, I think you can all learn something from each other.
yeah, I mean, I think we're in the same boat in terms of like, we were kind of tired of feeling alone
Mm,
and we just threw ourselves out there and hope something good comes out of it.
yeah.
And good thing is that good has come out of it. Like we were able to meet each other and then we met
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
like we have a lot of like mutual friends that we met like a lot of great people with like
Yeah,
all
yeah.
with
Mhm.
like all these different personalities and humors and like just life experiences. It's like cool to just chat and just meet
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. Now, honesty's definitely really helped with that because it really kind of helped because, yeah, so I met people through Ben's mom's organization. Then I also have been doing all sorts of like, I've kind of like also, I've met some amazing artists too since like during the pandemic. I guess it's kind of something that came out of that where one of my friends I know who's an alum from my college too, my alma mater, we just kind of ended up doing this suits thing where we were kind of literally like, the spacesuits that people have that protect people from chemicals.
Okay.
We were like designing it, and so there's a theme, breaking the barriers, like breaking barriers in terms of like what breaking barriers in terms of I think what needs to maybe be said to spread awareness into the world. And naturally, amongst many things, it just included that I have a rare disease, and I've actually kind of made my friend, I guess, get inspired through that. And she said she got inspired by me. She's learned about rare diseases since, and has, I think, gotten a little more into it. So I'm just, I'm incredibly honored. I mean, things like that just really kind of mean a lot. And
Mhm.
that's where it's also kind of led me to wanna wanna create these greeting cards and just do like as I said recently, do like almost like a door-to-door sell-in where I kind of go to different people like and sell things on Instagram or Facebook, and just I think it's really good just to just get the word out there. I mean, I'm hoping to also do definitely get more in touch with my politicians. I mean, if there's any things that come up, I'll definitely let them know and say, hey, what about this bill? You should think about this. But I think that it's really just it's really just kind of amazing because I'm kind of thinking, well, if I don't do this advocating, whether it's doing podcasts or doing college, or, like I said, I know it's obviously a far off goal, but maybe eventually, who knows, maybe starting my own organization. I think that if I don't do this, who will?
I mean, you're doing a great job advocating like just of your work we were able to meet.
Oh,
So
thank
that's
you.
awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so before I say the microwave, is there anything you want to promote or any closing remarks?
Yeah, so if anyone is interested in seeing what I do on my Instagram, which as I mentioned, I create codes and I've been on different podcasts. Feel free to check my Instagram out, which is code. It's as if it's code curator, but instead of it being just a word code curator, it's code c.urator. It's a dot. I just couldn't do code curator. I guess someone else had that exact username, so that's what I
You
did.
didn't want to have any numbers?
No, well, I wanted it to. I kind of liked it. I kind of wanted it to be kind of a play on words and have it kind of be a little, I guess, lighthearted. You could say, well, it's this code curator, but instead it's code c.urator.
Yeah, I love it. All her information will be in the description, so you can just click on it. Thanks so much, Megan, for coming here, and it was a great episode. Thanks for everyone listening, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.
Sure. Yeah, thanks so much for this. Bye.